Convention, we are winding down. Our next speaker this evening is a young lady who one could talk to all kind of how. And tonight the speaker can't tell her point of order and can't tell her sit down tonight. She's in her home tonight. On May 10th, she survived. And there are days when we as men, the three of us, me, Cat Allen, and Exuma, and Ragged Allen, we have our challenges, and you need someone to stir you up sometime. You can assure you this woman, with her tenacity and grit and fight and true PLPism, would get you started. She ain't scared. She comes from a strong line of PLP. Let me make welcome the Member of Parliament for Anglican, a strong PLP, the Honorable Glenys Hanna Martin.
Are you ready? Are you ready? You can call me by my name. I am ready to roll. Once the rules remain the same, how the story's been told. Call me anytime, never cop out.
Good evening. Thank you. I want to recognize our party leader and Mrs. Davis, our deputy party leader and Mrs. Cooper, our national chairman, parliamentarians, stalwart councillors, fellow delegates, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Bahamians. I first stood on this podium in a PLP convention more than 20 years ago. I was, of course, more than 20 years younger, 15 pounds lighter, and my hair was dark brown. My goodness, how some things have changed. What has not changed for me, however, is the deeply imprinted understanding of the meaning of the Progressive Liberal Party to our history, to our national evolution, and the critical meaning of and relevance of this PLP to our future. What has not changed is my uncompromising identification to a progressive credo for the Bahamian people and our sacred duty to generations yet unborn. Our obligation as subscribed members of this organization is to do more than cast a vote, more than sit in a meeting, more than canvass support, more than shake pom-poms, more than look for the spoils that accord to the victim. This political organization is intended to be a catalyst for progressive movement and transformative change of a people. We have a duty, therefore, to the meaning of this party, to always maintain its dignity, its integrity, its full compliance with the noble principles upon which it was founded, to uphold the royal blue standard. This party should never be about the small and the petty. It should never be seen to be cannibalizing its members, never to be seen to be the playground for power or of power for its own sake. This party has positioned itself in the lives of our people as the political force that for the first time ever coalesced to people, organized resistance to oppression, was at the vanguard for the right of women to vote, the champion of democracy for previously enslaved people, as seen in January 10th, 1967. It is also the political force that, on attaining political power, initiated and drove fundamental progress in the form of universal access to education, universal access to health care, the creation of a social safety net. The PLP has exemplified the progressive philosophy through its pledge to wipe every tear from every eye. Bahamianization, a sovereign identity through national independence, and all of the institutions of a sovereign people. The PLP has been a progressive political force for and of the people. The PLP is bigger than any single individual. In the past, some great individuals loomed large in the life of this party. Many are the great heroes of this party and of our nation, to whom we are grateful beyond measure. But alas, most are now gone. And here we are, still today. We are still here today. But when we fade, and we will, the PLP must still be here, manifesting itself as the progressive force for the Bahamian people, as it has done throughout our history. It is our raison d'etre, our reason for existence. That is why it is our obligation at this time and space to fortify and continuously prepare this organization, even as we are positioned in opposition, for its premier role in this nation today and for generations yet unborn. This was certainly the foundation that was prepared for us today by our forefathers and foremothers. We do not have the luxury. We do not have the luxury to fall below that obligation. And if anything should never be tolerated, it is that, falling below our obligations. We must always, therefore, be vigilant, honestly self-examining, always prepared to fight to protect the legacy and the continuing viability of this PLP, not for its own sake or place of vanity, but to continuously secure the progressive advancement of the Bahamian people. If we fail, our country will fail. We cannot fail. And so it is a larger obligation than the four walls of the Lyndon Pendling Center. The PLP belongs to no one, yet it belongs to all of us. And even to those who are not yet here, not yet born. This is more important than perhaps ever before when we consider where our country is today. And you heard it, and I believe the Deputy Leader will go into detail of that also. We heard the state of our nation, the suffering of our people. So we are reminded tonight that in the PLP, P is for progressive. The Cambridge Dictionary defines progressivism as a social or political movement that aims to represent the interests of ordinary people through political change and support of government actions. Is it any accident that those early framers of the PLP led the name of this organization with the term progressive? I have sought to show how this has informed the policy thrusts of the Progressive Liberal Party throughout our history. Two key components of progressivism are the concepts of change and an ongoing critique of the prevailing conditions in order to motivate the necessary change. Progressivism means reform, and to reform, we must constantly critique. Che Guevara called this autocratico, that is, remaining in a constant state of self-critique in order to enact the change that we as progressives must work toward by definition. In the fine print of this progressive pledge, there is a cry for justice for youth underserved by an inadequate educational infrastructure. There is a cry for protection of children from child abuse in high and low places in plain sight. A cry for fundamental reform of an 18th century prison that cages men like animals. For women who, after so long in the trenches, must now receive equality in legislation. These are progressive ideals. Modern progressivism means energy efficiency for the 21st century. It means public sector reform. It means social welfare reform. It means protection of our environment under the threat of climate change as a low-lying archipelagic state in a hurricane zone. Modern progressivism also works towards systemic efficiency and precision. And the only way to build precise and efficient systems is through research and standardization. The PLP must lead the way in supporting Bahamian research at all levels as an essential cost-saving and nation-building tool. This tool is a necessary part of the constant systemic critique of ourselves that leads to measurable improvements. Modern progressivism looks with objective eyes and speaks with honest tongue about the traumas and their effects that we have suffered and endured as a people of majority African descent via the slave trade. Progressivism honors equality among women and men of all backgrounds in ode and honor to the great divinity of the human being. Progressives believes in our people, lowering the barriers to global access by Bahamian entrepreneurs. We implement systems and technologies that enable the bright spark of Bahamian brilliance to flicker the world over. We seek to dismantle colonial and neo-colonial realities towards the true and full fruition of true liberty for the people. We fight for equitable taxation of the wealthy, expansion of democratic institutions, and widened participation of our people. It means identification and utilization of natural resources to the benefit of all people. It is a vision for development of the entire archipelago, not just Nassau. The Progressive Liberal Party is called by its framers and founders to present the vision of the Bahamian future. That's our role, not just to win an election and make a government. Our role is to present the vision of the Bahamian future, to promote democratic principles, equity, fairness, decency. Because it is only through change inherent to progressivism that the true infinite potential of the people can be unleashed in the rising sun. In this undertaking, we are fellow journeymen. Our obligation is to link arms and support each other, not seek to tear down and destroy. Not seek to tear down and destroy. To do so is not progressive. It is wrong. It is reactionary, and it is regressive. It is the antithesis of progressivism. I end by saying, we need to sweep off the cobwebs and revitalize our nation. The PLP promised the Bahamian people that they would take them all the way. And I say to you tonight, PLP! 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 Thank you and good night.